I guess kind of last couple questions, because I've already taken you way past the time we said we were going to do, but I want to just, this last question be about the quarterback, if we can. This is one of the hotly debated topics right now in the Seahawks fandom. And I've seen you talk a lot about when Russell was going at that time and interviewed a little bit, and your thoughts on that. There's a big push in the fandom at times, I feel like, and this is both nationally in Seattle, from fans to just go and get that quarterback. And me and through my years watching football, I keep coming back to get the team first, kind of field of dreams it, like Costner out there in the fields. If you build it, they will come. Where do you stand on that? Do you sit as a former general manager saying, no, look, getting the quarterback is the ultimate thing to be done. Then you fit around him if you got that opportunity, just go and jump, or to my side of it, where you'd say get the parameters in place first to go?
I don't think you can ever pass on a quarterback. I think you can draft one of those guys every year if you want, and you get a pretty good investment back if you're good at what you do. So I don't think you can say we're going to build the rest of this team before we get a quarterback, because you may never get another chance. So you got to strike when the opportunity comes as far as getting a quarterback. Here's the thing that I think fans don't probably know as much about as people inside buildings that do this for a living. We are much more critical of our players than fans are, or evaluators on the outside. In other words, there may be 6 or 7 quarterbacks that every evaluator outside the NFL loves. There may be only 2 or 3 that I like, or that a team likes. So they're not randomly picked off trees. And if you're going to pick a guy in the first round, especially, you better have a conviction for your evaluation and be really sure that you're getting what you get. I will say this: I have never drafted a quarterback in the first round. Now, that's not to say that I wouldn't want to. It's never lined up for me when I was in charge of a draft where I could say, I have conviction for this guy, let's go get him. It just doesn't happen. And I think fans think that happens all the time. It doesn't. There's a lot of drafts when there may be 1 or 2 guys that I have conviction on, the other 4 I don't really like. So it's hard to get that confidence and conviction and then have that guy be available to you. So I would never pass on one, though. I think it's the hardest thing to evaluate. The way these guys have to process information now is really hard to gather that information. And I know there's some NFL people do it better than others. I do bristle with the fact when people say it's a crapshoot, because I don't think it's a crapshoot at all. I think sometimes, again, a lot of people are good at doing it. A lot of NFL teams aren't. And that's just part of, team building per se.
Did you have a guy that you're willing to trade up on your time at GM that you just couldn't get a trade to go up and get a guy for, where the package of picks ended up being too costly for you to move up? To your point of never having taken that quarterback?
We always tried. I can't remember a quarterback, although one year when we were in Miami, both me and I loved Jay Cutler, and we would have probably taken a Jay Cutler if he had fell to us. But we didn't. We had signed Culpepper at the time. And I remember Nick saying, now what do we do if he falls to us? I said, we're picking him. We got to have a young guy to hinge our future on. And so you've got to take him. And if it ends up being that you already have one, I think so be it. You get another one. Not to be completely crazy about it, but I don't remember ever swinging and missing and going crazy to try to get up and get one that I had that much conviction for, to be honest with you. There's a reason there's only about 10 or 12 of these guys that are walking the face of the earth right now that anybody would pay anything to get. Just think about that. There's not many of them out there.
And it's one of the most debated topics because of this, is what's the value and where to go. And my only worry is that you get a situation at times like the Steelers did with Fields a couple of years ago, where they didn't know he was going to fall. He fell. The team wasn't really ready as far as where they were offensively with their scheme, with the offensive line, with the playmakers on the outside. The running backs was just average. And they just kind of did that. We'll just go get him. And then they threw him into the fire. And I'm not saying Fields is going to be a good player now, but it's hard to make the evaluation of him as we stand a couple of years down the line when he isn't given as much to deal with or work with on that side of it, because it was just that go pull the trigger and get the guy.
Right. No doubt. You're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't. It's just a risky position unless you have full consensus and conviction for your evaluation.
It's true. It's true. And I'm sure there's not one silver bullet answer on this one too, where there's kind of a variety of different directions you can go with it on how you apply it. But it's interesting to hear your thoughts on that. Just take the guy if to your point though, it's not take the guy just to pick him off the tree, but pick the guy that you've got hey, we know we love our evaluation. We love who he is as a player. And that's where I like the Seahawks have taken this approach where they've kind of slowly built this up a little bit